Hi everyone, this is Dave. Welcome back, and in this video I will show you how to update the MSI 990FXA-GD80 BIOS to version 13.5 from within Windows 7. So in this 13.5 release, MSI have updated the Ageza code, which can improve performance and fix issues and add support to the CPU. So if you're gaming or overclocking a little, or just multitasking on this motherboard, you probably just want the latest BIOS. So I'm going to show you how to do it here. And it shouldn't matter if you have Windows 8 or Windows 7, and it shouldn't matter if you're jumping from one of the 11 version BIOSes to the latest BIOS. So the first thing you probably want to do is grab your camera or smartphone or whatever you have and take pictures of your BIOS settings, because you won't be able to load the old profile into the new BIOS later, which I found out. So take your USB drive and plug it into one of the dedicated USB only ports on the back of your motherboard so that it can access it directly when you go to flash the BIOS. So what I'm showing you here is the USB port that's between the eSATA and 1394 or FireWire ports. So there's my Patriot 4GB flash drive, and I'm going to explain a little bit on how to prepare for your BIOS upgrade. Now, the USB key shows up first on the boot order as soon as you put in that USB flash drive and turn on the computer. It puts it there first. So you don't have to have it first, because when you go to run the executable from within Windows, it's going to put it first anyway when it does the upgrade. So basically, you don't have to worry about putting the USB key first on the boot order. So if you're overclocking on this motherboard, you want to set back your CPU frequency and your DRAM frequency and your multiplier voltages probably back to auto, and reboot into Windows, which I'll show you in a little while. And so you have a stable system to update the BIOS with. This is really important. So when you can go into the overclocking profiles and save yourself a profile. I'm just showing you here how to do it, because you can do this per BIOS. I mean, it's not going to do any good later, because you won't be able to load the old profile into the new BIOS. But at least you'll know how to save yourself a profile. You can save this right to the flash drive. You just give it a name and hit enter. Here you go into the main settings and click Save and Exit, then click Restore Defaults, and get your settings back to baseline before you actually go to update. And then after you get them back to baseline, just make some minor adjustments so that you have a system somewhat the way it should be, but not all the way overclocked, if you know what I mean. For example, you want to set your hard drives to boot to AHCI mode if you're using SATA drives. And of course, you're getting the best performance that way. So set the AHCI mode back after you've restored all the defaults. And of course, if you have a external sound card, I mean like an add-on sound card, you want to disable the onboard sound. See, I've set all the voltages back to auto here, as well as the CPU frequency, and I've set the memory back to where it should be per specification of the memory. So in other words, you want your memory to be where it should be, but the processor you don't want to overclock while you're updating the BIOS, so set it back. Hopefully those of you who are watching this already know how to make most of these settings, but if you don't, please get a friend and ask around and Google search before you do this, so you don't risk bricking your motherboard. So you can see that I've disabled the OC, the overclocking Genie button operation and the Genie light, and put the core control and turbo core technology and everything else to auto, and just set my RAM back to the way it should be. So up to this point, you've been able to make the necessary settings for a safe BIOS update. And you're making sure that your system is stable enough to flash your BIOS with. So next we're going to head on over to us.msi.com and download our BIOS. This part should be self-explanatory if you know how to navigate the website. I like to go to the one with the overclocking picture because it has the right BIOS. The other one that you can get to has a different version listed, like version 2, and that one doesn't have the latest BIOSes. But this one, as long as you get to version 13.5, then you should be okay. Just click on it to download it. So now you've got your downloaded zip folder with a BIOS in it. Go to right click on it and extract all, and then you can see the BIOS listed there under your computer, and you're ready to work with it. It's going to be launched from within Windows and from being on the flash drive. So I'm going to open up my flash drive that has been formatted. Or you can just have an empty flash drive as long as nothing else is on it, and take the BIOS file and drag it or drop it right into the root directory of the flash drive with nothing else there. So I don't want to risk updating the BIOS with just any old files on there. So it's best to start the BIOS with no other files on the flash drive, and just have the one BIOS executable file there on the root of the flash drive, and open that up by double clicking it, and then it's gonna start the the BIOS update procedure. You'll notice a couple files show up on the same directory of the flash drive. That needs to be there. So just leave those. Don't do anything with those files, and then you're ready to read the agreement. So I'm just going to be extra careful in closing the extra programs I have running down in my notification area. And then you click OK, and it comes up with the BIOS update window right there in Windows, showing you the current version and the new version that you're about to update to. When you're ready to start, just click the OK button and start flashing the BIOS. And so it's going to look like it pauses for some time. Just keep everything plugged in and let the progress bar finish, and it'll get there. Just wait a minute or two, and then it gives you a message saying that it's updated successfully. At that point, the computer will go down for reboot. And you should always leave the flash drive plugged in, and even if something happens to your BIOS where it doesn't do it successfully or something, just leave it plugged in until you can get help from a friend or MSI to do a BIOS recovery procedure, if you need to, that is. But here it's going to start loading Windows when it's done. And there again, it's looking for the SATA AHCI mode, and it's still on IDE in most cases, so it'll give you a blue screen. But just go ahead and shut off your computer. And then take and remove the flash drive. And then power back on your computer. And then tap the delete key, and it should enter the setup. Then you can go back in your BIOS and see that you've got the new version installed and start making your settings. Okay, so we're just about done, and we should have the new version of BIOS that gives us better stability. And you can see you've got to set back some of your settings, but some of them might have stayed the same, like your time and date. So just set those back, like your frequency and overclocking settings, and then you should be ready to load your computer back into your Windows. Now, if you're running one of the FX series chips, such as the Zambezi or the Vishera chips in your motherboard, and you're running Windows 7, you should check out the Microsoft hotfixes for Bulldozer. And there are patches available from Microsoft. The first one you should install is KB 2645594, and only after that you've installed that one, install the second one, which is KB 2646060. That's 2646060, and those will help improve performance in Windows 7 when you're running one of those chips. Well, I hope you've enjoyed and had fun with this video, and that your BIOS update goes smoothly for you. So thanks for watching, and have a great one.